It's a great day. My name is Che Brown, the Happy Entrepreneur, and welcome to the Happy Entrepreneur Show, the number one business development and revenue focused late night show in the country where we are on a mission. And our mission really is to empower. Our mission is to inspire. And our mission at the end of the day is really to provide you, that's right, you, the hard working entrepreneur, with all of the resources that are necessary to execute that big vision you have for the people you were called to serve. And on this episode, we have the one and only Cedric Scott. He's in the building. He'll be talking about education, or more importantly, AI and how to leverage it with your expertise. Let's find out what that's about. What's going on, Cedric? How you doing, man?
I'm good, man. Thank you so much for having me on the platform. Greatly appreciate it. Just happy to be here and to share.
Well, I'm glad you're here as well. I mean, I know we're talking about AI, and I know you're with Black AI Media, and we'll get into your background, folks, to see how famous you are. They might already Google you. They already looking up you online. But I'm just curious, AI means different things to different people. It really does. Take a moment and give us the one, two, three, like what is AI? And not why is it so important, but how can people start really integrating it in their life?
Of course, yeah. Well, really quick, AI or artificial intelligence, as we're seeing it now, because it's taken on kind of different meetings for different people, different capacities, and it's really more so tiered to how you use it, right? So we have seen like the rise of, things like ChatGPT, where that's more text based. And really, it's a way of accessing and using information really in a really efficient, quick way. We're all familiar with Google and searching and things like that, but with leveraging AI and a lot of the context, I think what we'll talk about here is, how we can dig into that information, those resources, without having to do as much, I guess we'll say, work as a Google search might take. Get the information, access different tools and things that you can use to elevate whatever it is that you're doing, whether that's creative or even in business, and just make things a little bit more smooth, right? And it's really thinking about how we as solopreneurs, dualpreneurs, individual people can essentially begin to multiply our efforts without having to break our back to do so. And what we're seeing is that a lot of the AI systems and tools and resources are allowing us to do that. So the things that used to take us hours, days, now take us minutes and seconds. So that's kind of the quick gist of it and what we're seeing. And I'll be happy to get into any of the breakdown and how we can actually start to move into using a lot of the resources and things like that.
That is spot on, and there's folks that are listening saying, Shay, I love that. Sounds good. But I show it because he's talking about how you're leveraging your expertise. Now, first of all, what did he mean by leveraging your expertise? Does this help me go faster? Does this help me make more money? Does this help me elevate in my career? Or is it all the above? What's the questions you have for Cedric? Shay, the question I have for Cedric is leveraging your expertise. Take a moment, first talk about why people are struggling to leverage your expertise, and then how does AI come in and help them be able to do it faster, easier, quicker.
Yeah, of course. And I mean, I'll lean into something actually I heard from somebody I interviewed on my platform on Black AI Media. And what we talked about was knowledge bias. And essentially what that is that you have an area of understanding in something that essentially I think most people take for granted. And I know that I can say that I can, attest to that firsthand, where we do something so aimlessly and it's easy and it's just comes to us very naturally, but to other people, it's magic. Right. So when I'm talking about leveraging your expertise, it's that thing. What is it that you do that is just really nothing, right? It doesn't really feel like work, and it is something that you can do with in your sleep. That actually can help other people, because what I'm finding essentially is that whenever you realize that thing and actualize it, and then of course if you can loop in the AI, which will make it faster, more efficient, you can make money off of that, right? Like, because people will pay you for that thing, especially if you're essentially making their life easier and making their process, the thing that they're dealing with or going through, happen a little bit faster. Quick example: if, for example, you maybe you're in writing and you want to, you maybe you're already a great writer, right? And you've done well with that. employing and applying some of the technology and AI tools and resources to even make that, you know, a little bit more further in advanced. We're seeing a lot of people moving into spaces, you know, doing copywriting or freelance, you know, any type writing or, you know, editorial work and things like that that could elevate what they're already doing, and just kind of accelerate that pathway. In which case, you can also begin to go into more the educational side of things, which I know will get into my background. You can begin to teach other people that, right? And people will now come to you as that expert, you know, subject matter expert, if you will, this me, and basically pay you for that knowledge and information. Because one of the most recent books that I read is called The Experience Economy, which talks about going from, you know, where we were before, products, selling commodities, and then going into more of, you know, in selling information and knowledge, and then going now into experiences where now you're, you know, you're seeing events, and people are paying to get access essentially to your brain. So applying these tools and resources, we see a lot of this elevating different businesses, brands, to the point where we're seeing, you know, unicorn companies being acquired and sold, you know, companies that might have 12, 15 people because of the application and leveraging of those skill sets and using the technology. I mean, we're seeing, you know, those entities going for billions of dollars, or at least being, you know, valued, you know, in the high level. So we as individuals can actually do those things as well. But again, it's just a matter of figuring out what that thing is and then realizing how we can work it to our benefit.
Well said. Some folks are saying, Shay, slow down for a moment. I like what he's saying. I like what he's talking about. It's making sense and sense. Can I say that, ladies and gentlemen? It makes sense and sense. They're curious. They haven't read your bio. Somebody right now is cooking in the kitchen. Somebody right now is in their car, maybe listening to the podcast. Thank you so much. We appreciate all of you who are listening. Maybe you're right now watching on demand. We appreciate you allowing us to stream into your home during these times. So thank you so much. They're probably curious, who is this guy? Slow down, Shay. Can you take a moment and tell us, you know, the question I'm going to, Cedric? What's the backstory of Cedric? And what was that defining moment in Cedric's life that led him on this path with Black AI Media?
Of course. Yeah, Shay, my background originally is in chemistry. So I got my bachelor's degree in chemistry, attended an HBCU, Virginia State University. And then after that, worked briefly actually in chemical industry. So I was a chemist for a while, and then worked also in a couple of labs, you know, did some microbiology stuff. And then from there, I actually made the pivot into education, where I began actually teaching and working a lot in, you know, the STEM subjects, of course, as you can imagine, a lot of, you know, math, and then that moved into school administration, and then what was really kind of the most pivotal moment overall, which I think leads up to where I am now in Black AI Media and some of the other things that I'm building, was that my son was coming into the world. So I have a 4-year old, and, you know, pandemic baby, and with you know, my wife and I, you know, coming to find out that, you know, our son is coming to the world, and we're planning that and getting prepared. I knew that I wanted to be able to work from home, be remote, and be present, you know, for him, as well as my wife. And with that, you know, I made the pivot from working in the schools and then moved into more of the technology side of education. Did a lot of curriculum work, and moved in, actually into some independent consulting. And from there, I found a lot of the, you know, the space and time, honestly, in terms of creativity, right, where I was able to actually do essentially what I'm talking about here, right, leveraging that area of expertise, right, digging and tinkering with those interests. And from there, I just began creating and building a lot of different things, but took to the technology. And then once AI really hit the scene, you know, I just went full fledged into it and realized that there's a lot of facets to it that not only people can use that, but that I can teach and I can share with folks. So I started getting information. Of course, did some coursework on my own, and from there just continued to build, and then realized that in the network I was building within the AI sector, definitely thinking about folks who look like me across the globe. You know, like I said, the global Black community. I found a lot of people doing amazing work, and I really wanted to think about how can we highlight and share those things and uplift people in their journeys. And Black AI Media was born. And with that, the premise there is really just the encouragement and empowerment behind what folks are doing, how they're leveraging, their expertise and using the technology to do so. So we're currently running a series of interviews. So shout outs to you. I understand and appreciate the work that you're doing. And at the same time, sharing resources and the different information and tools that people can apply. And of course, within that, of course, doing some consulting work, which is kind of the basis of a lot of this here. But really, it's really considering how can we build and grow, and really showcase, right, the amazing efforts of other people, because it doesn't take anything from me to really uplift and share and give, right, to other people and provide awareness and make sure that ultimately the amazing feats that are being met, are not lost in the sauce. And when we look at history and going to the future, right, we want to make sure that we have a stake there, and that narrative piece, telling our stories, is what's really grounding the work that I'm doing.
Oh man, thanks for sharing. Congratulations, 4 years old. You must be extremely pleased. So shout out to you and being able to be home where you are now. Now's probably a good time. Folks might be thinking, wow, Shay, okay, I'm ready to leverage my expertise. If he had to give me, and it's a loaded question, obviously, but if he had to give me step one, step two, and step three of things that I can do to either start the process or move forward so I can leverage my expertise, what would step one be? Maybe what would step two be? And if you had to, what would step three be? Now, Lazy May only has one, okay? But, I'm going to ask and see if he has maybe three things. And you at home, it's a good time to lean forward, by the way. For those folks that are tuning in, this is a good time because this is not where you are today. It's where you're going to be tomorrow. And it's a good time to be thinking about that right now. Like, when is the best time to plant a tree? My mentor always used to ask me, and the best time to plant a tree, he said, Shay, it was what, 10 years ago, right? He says, well, when's the next best time to plant a tree? Well, today. So anyway, what are three things that you would recommend that you might share with them, man, that they could do?
Well, the first thing would be considering identifying what that thing is, right? That knowledge bias. And one of the recommendations I've given to people, and I've done this in different contexts, including, even like folks who are, in the job market even, is doing an inventory. And I used to do this actually with my students when I did enrichment coursework. And you can take a sheet of paper. It's really practical. I try to be practical with everything. You take a sheet of paper, fold it in half. On one side of that sheet, you can write strengths at the top. On the other side, you can write interests. Make two different lists, a list of strengths, a list of interests. And what you'll essentially end up finding after looking at that is you'll find some overlap between some of those things. And also thinking about, well, what are the things that people come to you for most? What are the things that people around you say, man, you make this look so easy? Those are the things that really you can lean into and begin to start to think and generate some ideas, if you don't already have them. The second would be, I would actually lean a little bit more into the technology here. I do have three, so I'm glad I was able to think about this. The second would be thinking about how we can begin to access and use the technology. And I'll use the simplest kind of straightforward form here, which is, we'll say Chat GPT, right? And I'm not promoting Chat GPT. I don't work for the company. I get no benefit from this at all. But you can go into that platform, right? There's a free version of it. And you can begin to basically have conversations with this interface, right? The chatbot. And you can begin to lay out what it is that you can do, right? And the cool thing about it is that it can assume a persona, right? Like if you go in and say, hey, I want you to act like a business coach for me, right? And it'll respond and say, okay, how can I help you? And you say, listen, I'm trying to, figure out what I can do. And these are my areas of interest. This is what I'm good at. Give me some ideas. It will spit out ideas for you, right? Instantaneously. From there, you can start to do more digging and think about, well, what is this thing telling me? And learning more, right? Like you can go take that list, then you can go do your Google search and do more research and dig a little bit more further into, does any of this actually align to to what I think I really can do. And you can consult, get yourself a, if you want an actual business coach, human person, of course, you can go there and have that conversation, but at least begin to generate some ideas, based on your background and who you are. Right. So that's two. And then the third one is, I like to say that networking is a contact sport, right? Even virtually, where a lot of the benefit and growth, and things that I've been personally able to see, and also in others, is really related to, who we have in our network, who we're connected to. Literally being able to, have people who will send you a text message and say, "Hey, you need to talk to so and so," and also, loop in that third person, right, who could potentially help you. So getting active on that. One recommendation I like to throw out for, for, we'll say, for any of these platforms. I know people are heavily, working through LinkedIn and things like that. Is think about the industry that you're in, the thing that you're building, and begin to tap in with people who are in that same vein, because, quiet as kept, it's not necessarily as much, in terms of like competition as people think, right? The collaborative aspects are really where it's at. So thinking about that, right? Who can you network with? Who can you connect with? What, environments can you put yourself in, right? Whether that's a physical, conference, or anything like that, or even virtual ones. I mean, there are a lot of virtual conferences, webinars, just so much, access and information to learning. So definitely digging into that and thinking about, who can you actually sit down and have a conversation with, to potentially get invited onto an awesome show like what Shay has going on here. But this is all based in, producing and putting yourself out there, but at the same time being open to, having conversations, and also being willing to help other people. Right. That's really, I mean, that would be, if I could throw out a fourth one, which really helped me a lot, is helping others, right? Help first, and thinking about, if you can position other people, and they can see success, then what does that mean for you ultimately? And it just makes things far, more wide open, in terms of your possibilities, when people realize that, you're somebody who's here offering value, but, you have a lot to bring to the table, and people are more receptive to that, and open to sharing with you as well.
I love it, man. Spot on. Thanks for giving us the bonus, by the way. We appreciate that. We always like goodies. We like goodies. Everyone, we like goodies. Thank you so much. As you were speaking right now, we have a segment. I think it's a good transition. We have a segment here, that's called "Today is my January 1st." And there might be some folks that think, man, his life has always been perfect, Shay. This guy just cruises along, decides he want to do something, and he just does it. Well, for those folks that are tuning in every night, you know what I'm about to do, right? Today, it's my January 1st. Some of you wait to say this, so you can go ahead and say those magical words now. Get it out the way. Today is my January 1st. Doesn't that feel good? That feels good. I know that feels good. And for all the new folks who are tuning in for the very first time, today is my January 1st is our personal mantra, the Happy Entrepreneur Show. It represents a fresh start. It represents a do-over. It means our past, no matter how dark and gloomy that past is, or how bright and sunny that past is, the past no longer equals the future. And so my question for Cedric sitting on the other side is really twofold. Number one, when you hear those words, today is my January 1st, what do you hear? What do you hear? And then for you, in your business or in your life, was there ever a time that there was a setback, that things didn't work the way you thought they would work out? And how did you bounce back, if you don't mind sharing?
Of course. Yeah. I mean, when I hear those words, "Today is my January 1st," uh, I think new beginnings. I think, new ideas, new possibilities. But at the same time, I also think about, what habits and what things have I put in place, that I can build on, because, starting fresh and completely new is, yeah, it's that's a feat. But at the same time, we have to remember, I think, that we always kind of have something, that we can start with, right? It's not that you give a complete blank slate, right? We have skills, and we have experiences, aspects of our personality that we can use, at any given point. So, thinking about that, part of, my consideration for, today is my January 1st, is, looking forward into the future of like what's possible. Um, but not forgetting, the work that's already been done. So yeah, it's definitely about foresight. And I like to think of myself as being kind of futuristic, but at the same time, it's one step at a time. So if it's January 1st, we got to get through today, right? What's happening for the second, and then mapping that out, so that when we look back from December 31st, we can recall, what, look at that journey, right? So it's all about the journey, for me. And in terms of setbacks, yeah, I mean, I've definitely had some situations where, like, I've tested things out, tried them out, or even instances where I might have invested in something, deploying a new idea, a new product, that didn't work out. And from there, for me, it's really, this is kind of cliche. I was thinking about, like, what are the lessons learned there? How can we, again, thinking about going into our January 1st, if there is anything I can take from that previous scenario or situation, so that it's not a total loss. What are those things, right? And I'll share a quick example. Just came to mind, as we were talking. Whenever I first pivoted to working from home, remotely, and starting to think creatively, and I think more just entrepreneurially, honestly, one of the first kind of ventures that I set out on, because of my background in chemistry, and being somebody who grows a beard and stuff like that, I was like, I can formulate my own beard products. And I went through that process of the learning and beginning to mix up oils, and I'm in the basement, just doing all kinds of stuff. My wife was like, "What are you doing?" And I'm just, I'm thinking of something. I got an idea, um, and there were just that, like, that necessarily did not pan out, but the process, right? The understanding of how things work, economics, and digging a little bit deeper, which wasn't in my wheelhouse before. I'm able to carry that over. So there is actually, interestingly enough, a connection between me formulating and selling beard oil to me creating educational resources and content, and now starting a AI media company, right? The processes and understanding of how things work, right? Setting systems in place, and a lot of those aspects, they change based on the situation and the parameters that we're under, but a lot of it is still application in the same way, right? You still have to approach it, from kind of that, I guess, engineering, type of mindset, where you go in and you do tests and you see if it works, right? And then you revamp the process, try it again, fix it. It's all about retooling and reshaping, and essentially trying to make that thing better. So whether you're doing beard oil, or creating any type of books, or resources, or anything like that, or building a media platform, it all kind of goes through the same cyclical field of nature. And the goal ultimately is really just, well, how do I make it better next time? And I subscribe to the notion, of going from what was primarily always pushed, definitely in business, with creating a product, which is the MVP, right? The minimum viable product.
Mhm.
I've taken and adopted a little bit of a different mindset on that whenever releasing things, and I go with the WPV, the worst possible version, and knowing that whatever I put out right now, it most likely will be shaky at best. But at least I know that it's going to be the worst possible version of what I'm doing, and I can only iterate and get better.
Spot on, man. I'm telling you, I'm so fortunate. This is a gentleman who I was had the opportunity not to meet in person, but we have met online. And someone that responds to his LinkedIn messages for those folks that code LinkedIn. One of the favorite questions I like to ask when we have time. We have a few minutes now as we come down the home stretch. Is what's one of the best pieces of advice you've ever been given? Now, I'll frame it for the audience so they kind of understand that you've gotten a lot of advice over the years. You've read more books and you could probably remember. Someone's dealing with AI, has watched more videos, and he can probably he can even remember what they are. And he had a lot of mentors, I'm sure, along this journey. But if you had to step back in the time we have and say, here's one of the best pieces of advice I've ever been given, what is it and why?
It was actually not business related at all. When I became an educator, one of my coworkers, colleagues, awesome woman. She said to me, "Protect your energy," and that's always kind of settled and stuck with me, especially with going into any, you know, creative, aspect or idea or venture, because it is really imperative for us, just as people at large, to really think about what's going on within us, like checking with ourselves, because I'm not sure if anybody can attest to this, but if you've ever been in a situation where you've been in a room where with we'll say multiple other people, maybe it's a lot of other people, and somebody comes in and you can just feel their energy, and it's like they're just in a really bad mood, and what that does to the space, right, and to you. So being mindful and understanding how energy kind of flows, um, and whenever that happens, knowing how to respond so that whatever you got going on within you is not disrupted because of somebody else. And because again, that goes into our thoughts, our actions, and then ultimately what we're putting out into the world. And if we want to be and showcase and put out our best work, our best selves, then it starts from that core of energy, and realizing that we actually do have a say in that, and not letting anybody else kind of come in and shake up our world. So yeah, protect your energy. Awesome fellow educator, black woman that I met in my early days of teaching. She told me that, and I hold it right here, near and dear.
I love it, man. What do you do for fun? We're not out saving the world, helping people live the life they want to live. What do you do for fun these days?
I mean, I got a 4-year-old son, so that's we're always running around, and he's getting engaged in some of the things that I'm enjoying. Like I had him running around with like a VR headset on one day. We do a lot of traveling. We actually, just recently came back from a trip. My wife, my son, and I. We enjoy, going on cruises and that type of thing, and seeing the world. And within myself, you know, um, I enjoy, kind of tinkering with a lot of, again, I'm a kind of a nerdy tech person now, and that's what I get into. But at the same time, I really thoroughly enjoy just taking time and learning new information, tapping into different podcasts and resources and things like that. But really, at my core, I really enjoy creating, right? Coming up with a lot of ideas all the time. So if I'm like, oh, what about this thing? And I'll go in and start messing around and play around with things, and who knows what that transforms into. But yeah, I like to create, and produce, and I'm into art and music. Not necessarily an artist or a musician myself, but I enjoy those things for sure. But yeah, so we keep it pretty calm, but we like to run around, and it gets kind of hectic, but at the same time, mellow, just kind of chilling out, taking some time to recharge.
Yeah.
um, in a healthy way, and of course, taking care of myself and hitting the gym is always a bonus whenever I can definitely get my time in there for sure.
I love it. As we come down the home stretch, two-part question. I appreciate your time, man. Number
Of course.
one, what type of clients are you looking to work with these days? And number two, how can folks connect with you? Like, how can they stay in this conversation over and beyond the time that you and I have right now? How and what's the best way for them to connect with you?
Yeah, well, I'll start with the latter first. LinkedIn, definitely, tapping with me on LinkedIn, Cedric Scott Jr. Yep, as Shay mentioned, if you send me a message, I will respond. I actually also as well have a form that is linked right at the top of my LinkedIn profile, which can lead into kind of my second um, the second question I was asked, which is, who am I looking to work with? Right now, I'm doing a lot of work, of course, in the AI space. So, folks who are looking for any type of consulting and understanding how they can leverage AI tools and resources, definitely tapping in there, doing speaking engagements, webinars, in-person seminars, a lot of those things. Whether you're, independent or individual, corporate, doing a lot of different things. Just recently did some work, even at like my local chamber of commerce, leading some sessions and walking people through some of the introduction there. Um, Also building on supports with my educational background in consulting there. So I've done some different work with organizations in creating content, curriculum, online, platforms and things like that. So if we're looking at education, technology, the infusion of a lot of those tools and resources, that's kind of where I live right now as well. So yeah, definitely check me out there. Again, primarily through LinkedIn, Cedric Scott Jr. And with that, also be sure to check out blackaimedia.com.
BlackAImedia.com. Let me say thanks so much for being on the Happy Entrepreneur Show. We appreciate it. We know you can always make more money, but you can't make more time. So you're giving us the most precious resource you have, which is your time. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
And thank you, viewers, for tuning in, by the way. Thanks for allowing us to broadcast into your home or into your smart device or into your tablet, or maybe we're on your big monitor right now, or maybe we're on the TV screen. Doesn't really matter where we are. Thank you so much. Without you, well, we don't have a show, by the way. We don't have a show. And I never get tired of reminding you every night at 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time that you really are amazing. It's not a lot of hyperbole when I say that. You truly are an incredible, special individual, and that no matter what's going on in your life right now, this I know for sure, that today is your January 1st. You get a fresh start. And because of just that one reason, I believe your best is still yet to come. Your best is yet to come. Your best is yet to come. With that being said, my name is Shay Brown, the Happy Entrepreneur. Peace. We out of here, and we'll see y'all on the other side. God bless. See you later. Thanks a lot, man. Peace.